All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Gridiron Zeros podcast.
Settle down.
It's episode 79, and it's a good one. We have the redemption arc, what players we think are going to be entering their redemption era this upcoming season, followed by AFC and NFC record predictions, our second week of going through each division and predicting records.
AFC East and NFC East this week.
Yep. Did I say that?
Nope.
Or did I say something else?
Nope. You just said NFC and AFC without a division in our division record predictions. So I thought I'd just fill in the gaps.
I'm really dropping the ball with that segment today.
We had a big tease of some Lions news on Twitter, and live during the show we found out what the news was, and Lucas was a little deflated after it. So it's carrying over into the intro.
I was expecting it to be a lot bigger than what it ended up being. So I was.
Stay tuned for what the news is if you don't already know. Anything else?
Yeah, we get into the frickin' preseason preview for the Lions. And it's good. Everything's good.
Lions fans, that's all right.
Could have been talking about Chase Young, but instead we talk about somebody else. All right, let's get into the show. Okay, Al, the season is officially underway. We had our first preseason game this past Thursday night between the Browns and the Jets. Did you watch any of it?
I watched the recap. I didn't even finish all that because it's kind of a snoozer, to be honest. But
it's more than I can say. My extent was Twitter clips. And I feel like I didn't even see that many of those. So, yeah, it must have been a real snoozer.
Well, I watched for my boy Kellen Mond, obviously, and he didn't do too good. He looked not very good.
The backup, the rookie, Thompson Robinson.
Yeah, Dorian Thompson Robinson.
Yeah, he had a pretty good game.
Yeah, I think it's looking like he'll win that backup job.
That QB2 spot. Interesting.
I will say just real quick before we move on, kind of interestingly linked to our first segment here. This guy could be on a list, but Zach Wilson kind of had a nice game. He's got a lot of positive buzz after the game, and it sounds like he's been handling himself in camp the right way. And not I think he's very aware of his situation, and I think he's just trying to make sure that this is not the end of his NFL career at this point. And so far, so good. I don't know if he'll ever start for the Jets again, but he's working his way to get another shot. So
he probably won't be on the list because I feel like it's got to be players that are going to play this year.
He's not on mine.
And
so.
For him to play this year, Rodgers would have to go down. But I will say I wouldn't rule out him starting for the Jets again just because Rodgers probably only has a year or two left, right?
Who fucking knows with him?
I guess he could keep playing.
But you can't do this to me.
I mean, I guess he could play into Brady's time, but I don't see him doing that. I feel like he exudes his elderness a lot more than Brady does. So last week we did breakout players. This week we're doing redemption players who might have had a bad year, weren't in the headlines like they were once before, that are looking to have a bounce back season,
looking to fix their image a little bit.
Yeah, redemption season. Right?
I also wanted to say I do have one person on this list that I kind of wanted to expand it to someone outside of just a player. I do have a coach on my list.
Okay, so
I might throw that in the mix as well. But this is a kind of a
Brandon Staley.
No redemption for him. This is kind of just an inverse version, if you will, of our breakout segment. These are guys kind of on the other side of things where they need to redeem themselves. Their image maybe isn't doing the best, so let's have a bounce back year.
Yeah.
Do you want to start off?
Sure, I can start. I have two wide receivers. I don't know if I want to use them both, but I'll start out with one I think needs a lot more of a redemption season, and that's Deontay Johnson. His stats, he played 2 full seasons. So I think, or no, he missed 1 game in 2021. He played all 17 in 2022. I'll read 2021 and then I'll read 2022 in terms of these stats, right? So in 2021, he had 107 catches. In 2022, he had 86. So roughly a 21 catch drop off.
A third of his catches
And
went down.
Mind you that he played 1 less game in 2021. 1,161 yards to 882. The big one, 8 touchdowns to 0.
Yikes.
Played all 17 games. He didn't get in the end zone 1 time last year. Now, there's a lot that goes into that, right? The Steelers quarterback situation last year was very up in the air and very turbulent all the way through the season. And then even when it started to even out towards the end, it was still a rookie quarterback who probably wasn't NFL ready at that point.
Better at the end, but
yeah, he was a rookie and he had to get his bearings. Kenny Pickett, I think, is going to be a lot better this season. I think that Steelers offense in general might be a lot better this season. Hopefully they can improve upon the run game because that's going to be major for Kenny Pickett. And I think he'll also help out with that as well because he's, speedy little white guy. But yeah, DeAndre Johnson, Claypool's gone. So that's like a little bit of relief knowing that you're still, you're the wide receiver 1. But Pickens is breathing down your neck right now. All the hype is around Pickens. Everybody loves this guy. You see, the only time you see a Steelers training camp video is George Pickens making a catch. Have you seen anything else out of the Steelers?
No, not really.
No, right? So I think Deontay Johnson is he has to come correct this year. The dropping also, that he can't drop a catch this season, otherwise people are going to rip him to shreds.
I feel like he's got a lot of positive buzz about him in general, even coming into last year. I think last year more so because George Pickens wasn't really as much of a factor.
Yeah.
But now with him emerging a little bit more this year and Kenny Pickett taking another step, hopefully year 2 for a lot of these younger guys and the Steelers offense, like I could see him getting an uptick. I would definitely look at Pickens like the guy who might eclipse him if all things go right for Pickens because he's definitely got that diva give me the ball sort of mentality.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'll be curious to see how that plays out. But no, I like that first pick. I also have a receiver for my first pick, and I wonder if it'll be the other one that you alluded to on here. This guy's a second-year player.
It's not.
Treylon Burks for the Tennessee Titans. This dude had the very unfortunate task of coming in and basically replacing A.J. Brown, which is not an easy thing to do by any stretch. And the way the Titans did that trade, they trade A.J. Brown to the Eagles. He gets a big contract extension. Titans get the draft pick. They take Treylon Burks. He needs to come in and be at least as good as A.J. Brown, which is such a high bar for him. And what a whiff his rookie year is. I've got the stats pulled up here. He played in 11 games. I know he had some injury stuff going on, but 33 receptions for 444 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean, that is not good. That is very poor production for a guy that you're hoping is going to emerge into a wide receiver 1. I know that it's hard to come on to the scene as a rookie and carry that much weight, but like at the same time, you were picked at that spot for that reason a little bit, and the Titans maybe started dropping off a little bit last year. You know how I feel about them coming into this year, but I think it also says a lot that they added Hopkins. I know Hopkins isn't what he used to be, but he's still a damn good wide receiver, and he's definitely going to take targets away from Burks. So I think I watched a interview with Burks back when they were flirting with signing Hopkins, like he was visiting the team, and they were kind of asking him his feelings on it. He didn't seem too happy. He did not seem like he really wanted DeAndre Hopkins in the building. I don't know if his temperature on it has changed since then, but his attitude seemed a little bit more like guys coming in and taking care, catches from me. So yeah, he needs to have a little bit of a redemption here, and I don't know if it's going to be Tannehill all year. I don't know if Will Levis is going to get in the mix here, but we need to see some stuff from Treylon Burks in year 2 for sure.
Yeah, it seems like he is a big standout after 2 weeks at Titans training camp, and I think he must have changed his tune. It sounds like he's been able to kind of work with D-Hop and take some advice in and work with him to kind of get better at his own game. So
it's a benefit to him really to have him
really
there. It's going to take coverage away. He's an all-time great. I mean, I would try and embrace the positive and not focus as much on, your targets getting taken away.
D-Hop is also a good candidate for this as well. He missed half the season last year with that suspension.
I thought about it, but he's already a Hall of Famer, so it does not a whole lot on the line for him, really.
I mean, you mentioned it though. I mean, I feel like people are starting to disrespect that name a little bit.
Well, he's an older player. His stats dropped off a little bit.
When he came back last year at Arizona, when Kyler was still playing, he put up, I want to say, at least 2-3 weeks of very solid numbers, like performing at top 3 wide receiver numbers. And then he fell off, and Kyler blew out his ACL, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm really interested to see what he can do with Tannehill, a good, solid quarterback that can stay healthy, can stay in the pocket, good throws, good accurate passes, can throw the deep ball.
Lucas giving his per podcast flowers to Tannehill, as he usually does.
Absolutely. It's the most disrespected quarterback in the NFL. So I'm really excited to see what that offense looks like moving forward. My other wide receiver, Adam Thielen.
Interesting.
New team. Was kind of, he's been falling off the radar after that great, 2020 that he had that season?
I mean, he was great for a couple seasons up until
Maybe
then,
it was
but
2019. Whatever week we opened up against the Cardinals and tied them, I think that was 2019.
Okay.
He has not been that same player since, and duly noted because Justin Jefferson has obviously been the best wide receiver in football for the past 2 years.
He exploded onto the scene and took over as wide receiver 1 almost immediately.
And they added Hawk and they added KJ Osborne, and he took a back seat in Minnesota. The numbers show it. He played 13 games in 2021. He played 17 games last year. He had 3 more catches. He had less yards and less touchdowns, and that's missing 4 games in the previous season. So production fell way off, right?
Yeah.
He's going to a new team now. He's got a good head coach. He's got a young rookie quarterback. He knows how to develop chemistry with quarterbacks. He did with Kirk Cousins. If everything goes right, I think we could see a renaissance, a resurgence of Adam Thielen here.
I see a similar situation here to when, and I know it was the Urban Meyer year, but the year that the Jags signed Marvin Jones to kind of be that security blanket player for Lawrence coming in. I think it's that kind of idea. I think it will be much better executed by a better head coach. And I think Bryce Young is going to be decent his first year. So I could see him having a little bit of resurgence. I just don't know what his, he's not a wide receiver 1 anymore. I mean, maybe on that depth chart where there's not a whole lot to work with.
Maybe on that depth chart.
But across the league, I mean, he ain't going to be a receiver 1. I think this is about his ceiling at this point, is a flirting with receiver 1.
Yeah.
He's
32.
I think he signed a 2-3 year deal with them. And in his last couple of years in Minnesota, the numbers have gone down, but he's still been a red zone menace, and he's still been getting nice red zone scores, and he's been sneaky good in some areas, but I'll be curious to see him in a new situation too. It's crazy to think he's been a lifelong Viking at this point. So seeing him in another uniform is kind of strange altogether. he was dominant for a while.
Yeah, I mean, he was arguably the number one wide receiver. He was Cooper Kupp before Cooper Kupp, right?
That's a good way to put
Which
it.
is crazy to say, considering how not that long ago Cooper Kupp came on the scene. So, your next player, Al?
Let's do a quarterback,
Right.
because they're my favorite thing to talk about. Derek Carr.
Yeah.
He is in need of some redemption, and it's not just for last year. I mean, last year he got benched for Jared Stidham,
Yeah.
right?
And
So
I don't know how much of that was actually his play and how much of it was,
terrible play calling or terrible coaching or terrible
dumbass
team.
university running the show.
Yeah, I just feel like this is a big season for him, probably the biggest season of his career,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
because he's making a fresh start somewhere, and I feel like a lot of his career we've been like, well, he's got John Gruden, well, he's on the Raiders, well, they can't draft, well, he's got no defense. Like, he's in a little different of a situation now, and he's got some weapons on offense, an old defense, but good, we hope.
Do you think his situation is better or worse than what it was on the Raiders?
Well, I was getting to my last point. I think it's better because the division is awful.
Okay. That's a really fair point.
He has a really winnable division with this roster, and the NFC is open. So it's a big year for him to come in. He got a nice contract, not like top of the market, but he got a nice contract for a couple years.
Yeah, I mean, like, he just came off that fucking massive one, so who gives a shit? Like, quarterbacks, you're making buco money. Like, your grandchildren will never have to work a day in their life. That's how much money you're making. So, I mean, even if he gets like a middle of the road contract, he's still making just dummy stupid money.
But I would just say for him, this is the contract, this is the year, this is the stretch here with like the Saints, where it's like, this will define if you are a franchise quarterback going forward. Because if he's not, and if he kind of flunks out of this and doesn't work out, I think this is the big swing, right?
Yeah.
I think he's north 30 now, if not really close. Yeah, he's over 30. I'm sure he is.
Oh, 32.
Okay, a little older.
Yeah.
Derek Carr is my first quarterback on here. I'm sure we'll get to the other one.
Definitely a career-defining year for Derek Carr. Absolutely. I'm going to throw a defensive player your way, and this is a redemption season, not at his own doing. He got injured last year, week 7, blew out, a pretty bad knee injury, if I remember correctly. And but he was defensive player of the year, signed a huge contract with this team last offseason. And I just feel like, while he didn't have a bad year, he needs to remind everybody who he is, right? J.C. Jackson for this Los Angeles Chargers. Almost said Las Vegas Chargers. That defense needs to really solidify themselves, right? I feel like we always talk about that defense as being one of the best, but they never really show that on the field, do they?
Yeah, somehow their games always come down to the wire, and it's a very tight scored game. But they have Justin Herbert, so that shouldn't even be a problem if you have a good defense.
And I don't know. I just feel like their defense doesn't usually win them games. It does feel like Herbert's the one bailing them out most of the time. And if he fails, then it's on Herbert and it's not on the defense. So J.C. Jackson, defensive player of the year, was the best cornerback in football. But we see this route or I guess I look at the route that Stephon Gilmore just took, right? Left New England, went to Carolina, right? That was
his first stop, I think. Yeah.
And we never heard from him again.
Well, I mean, he's been okay, but not the player he was for New England.
3 teams in how long? 3 years?
3 years, 3-4 years, yeah.
That's not good. That means you are expendable as they come. Went from Carolina, got traded to the Colts, got traded to Dallas. That's not a great look. So when you look at New England, they're always producing these amazing corners.
Tight end factory.
tight end factory.
Secondary factory,
really, right? McCourty's, you had, I know that they didn't produce them, but you had Darrelle Revis on that team. You had, who's the guy that made the
Malcolm Butler
on that team. You had Stephon Gilmore, J.C. Jackson. You had
Duron Harmon.
You had guys that were all pros, defensive player of the year, like best corners in football, best safeties in football. But with Gilmore, I mean, he left that system and then he went right down the tubes. You can't tell me otherwise.
Yeah, I guess, well, I'll say with J.C. Jackson why I definitely agree with this pick over a Stephon Gilmore, because like Hopkins, Stephon Gilmore is probably already got a bust in Canton for his time in New England, probably. So, and he's also at the back end of his career, so it's like the pressure isn't really on that hot for him. But someone like J.C. Jackson, who signed a massive contract and
$5-year, $82.5 million.
He's expected to be like the dog of that defense, like to carry that defense in the secondary, which I don't know how they can afford him, Bosa, Derwin James, Khalil Mack. I don't even know. I don't know. But he definitely needs to have more of an impact, and this Chargers defense on the whole needs to be better, because they can't just play the Matthew Stafford Lions game where they put Herbert in a hole every week and just try and make him work it out, because it's not going to get you very far.
It's not going to work. So I don't know. You can't blame him for last year because, he absolutely blew his knee out. But from what I can remember, I don't think he was doing anything sensational. He wasn't, lighting the league on fire with his play. So it's going to be really interesting to see. I don't know if he'll be ready for the season opener, but hopefully he's not too far off. I read an article today that was posted back in June that he was on track for a good time with rehab. So that'll be interesting. That's my last player. Who's your last player?
So as I alluded to, my last selection here is actually going to be a coach. I'm going to keep it on the defensive side of things because that's the kind of coach he is. But I just thought this year was too interesting to talk about with him. And
can I take a guess?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Frank Reich.
No.
Ron Rivera.
No, you got your two guesses. That's it. Sorry.
Fair.
Robert Saleh.
Oh.
New York Jets head coach. And he's got so much pressure on him right now. From the day that you flirt with bringing in Aaron Rodgers, that automatically boosts pressure. He's already there, or he is now there. Sorry. Everything last year with Zach Wilson and how the season ended was abysmal. Like, this team was surging at the beginning of the year, and like midway through the year, they were kind of fiery. They had the offensive and defensive rookie of the year on their roster. Breece Hall was balling out.
Yeah, I would say he was definitely the front runner up until that injury.
And like they were finally looking like they might be something, and it fell apart in such an epic fashion, like so quickly. And by the end of the year, that Jags game, that was unwatchable for the Jets fans. That offense was pitiful.
I don't even remember that.
That defense carried them most of the year.
Yeah.
But now they're in a little bit different situation. I think last year they were coming into a year where it was like there were expectations because the roster was good and they finally had a nice young core and like they were ready to start doing stuff. And this year you definitely know you got a good core of players, a young core of players in the AFC. And like now you have Aaron Rodgers, and now you have a bunch of expensive receivers that are veterans, and now you have like a fan base that is clamoring for playoffs, Super Bowl or bust.
Oh yeah.
It's not just playoffs at this point. Yeah. It's like they need to go make a Super Bowl run. If they fall short of like the AFC Championship game this year, that's a failure for them.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that.
So this dude, I guess I don't even know if it's a redemption story. It's more of it's a redemption story from last year and his first year, because obviously that was not great either. But he needs to turn this thing around and get it moving in a pretty good direction pretty quick here. Otherwise, things are not going to be looking good for him for long. I'll say that.
Yeah, they started out 5-2 last year, and then it definitely kind of fell off the wagon. I mean, you lose both games to the Patriots, which shouldn't happen. You do beat the Bills. It's like you lose to the Patriots, bounce back week, you beat the Bills, and then you lose to the Patriots again.
I mean, even that Packers game was impressive at the time because the Packers we didn't quite know if they were for real bad or not, but they going into Lambeau and winning that game was impressive. Yeah. That was a big statement win for them.
And, you lose to the Vikings, who were pretty fraudulent, and then you lose to the Bills, which, okay, I can see that. You lose to the Lions. I mean, we were red hot. You lose to the Jags, who were also red hot. You lose to the Seahawks, who were a good team, but, I mean, come on. And then you lose to the Dolphins to close it out. You put up 6 points, 3 points, 17 points, 12 points, 22 points.
Yeah, offensively, no good. And
3 points, yeah.
I'll leave it at this with Saleh and why I thought he deserved to be on this list for redemption this year. I do think he's a good coach. Like, that defense proves it.
Sensational.
And
the best in the league.
The two rookies from last year prove it. And I know the quarterback thing fell apart, but now you have Aaron Rodgers in the building, and I think we can really see what this dude is capable of as a coach. I think he is going to be really good. He's finally got that piece figured out, so it's now or never. Because if it doesn't happen this year for them, as far as at least advancing in the playoffs around or something, it's not a good look. And I just wonder how patient the Jets will be with him after a third consecutive season of missed opportunity, especially now more than ever.
Yeah, they started off 5-2, then they went 2-8, including a 6-game losing streak to end the season. It's also important to note that their defense, my God, did they let up the least amount of points in the NFL?
They were really good for a while. They were really good.
Second least amount of points next to San Francisco, who finished 13-4. There's no way that their offense put up the least amount of points. No, but 296. I mean, your defense is letting up the second and the least amount of points in the NFL, whereas the first team finished 13-4, but your team finished 7-10. I mean, that's a 6-game swing, right? So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Good pick, though. Did you have it? Who'd you have for your backup?
I'll list it really fast because I want to wrap this up.
I don't want to talk about
it. I had two backups on here. I put Baker Mayfield, couldn't resist myself, and Jonathan Taylor. I think they both.
Baker's redemption story is long gone. All right.
Well, that's kind of why I went with Derek Carr over him. So
I had a duo one. I had Stafford and McVay.
I like that too.
Yeah. All right, let's talk AFC and NFC East predictions. All right, now we started out with the AFC last week, so let's start out with the NFC this week.
Are you serious?
NFC East, Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, Commanders. Who are you starting out with at dead last?
We're going with a piping hot take. Last year or first year, I can't talk.
I don't know if this is too piping hot. I'm gonna assume I know what you're gonna say.
I have the Dallas Cowboys finishing in last place. The win total might be the surprising part. I have them getting about 6 wins. This division is too good for them to keep up while they just keep losing players. And I don't know. I don't believe in Mike McCarthy. I believe in the Giants and the Eagles so much more than them.
Yep.
I think the Commanders might be a little more spicy than people are saying. There's no juice with this team for me.
Yeah.
And it's not just because they lost Zeke. I mean, who gives a shit? He played terrible last year. But they just we talked about it in our offseason recap show. This roster did not get better.
No.
It's lots of Band-Aids for this year. Guys who are well over the hump. And I just don't have a whole lot of faith in them, and they got a tough schedule. They always have a tough schedule because they got a lot of primetime games. I just don't think they're going to win as many this year.
They also finished second in their division last year, so I'm not feeling too great about the fact that they have to match up with us. They have to match up with Seattle, and they have to match up with, I guess New Orleans or Carolina, whoever finished second in that division. So, I agree with everything you said, but I had the Commanders finishing 6-11. So very similar, but rookie quarterback possibly starting. If not, it's Jacoby Brissett. I don't think they did a whole lot to make the team better. Chase Young is still, is he playing with that team? Is he not playing with that team? I think it was great that they re-signed or they gave the extension to Daron Payne, but I don't know. That team just has no juice around it for me. So I got them at 6-11, but I do have the Cowboys at 7-10. So we're not far off.
We did an exact swap then, even with records too, because I'll just pivot into this.
7-10.
Commanders number 3 at 7-10. A lot of the reasons that you said, but the reason I'm kind of giving them an edge on Dallas is because this year, and we've been alluding to it, really is a make or break for Ron Rivera, for this whole coaching staff, for Sam Howell, even though it's only his first year.
Right.
There's a lot on the line for this team, and this is going to be the last year they can keep this nucleus defensively around, most likely. I don't think they're bringing Chase Young back after this year unless they find a way. But this team could look a lot different a year from now. So I think they're going to go out fighting, and I think that they're good enough to get a couple wins. I don't think they're a bad team. I think that they're in the mix. I have more faith in them to step up and do something more than Dallas, but again, not by that much because I have them winning 7 games. It's just it's tough with the other two in front of them.
Do you think 7-10 is enough for a make year, or is that a break?
I'm saying they're trying to make
Right.
one, but that's where I see them finishing.
Do you think that's a break year though,
Yeah.
where Rivera gets fired?
Yeah, I mean that's not you're not even close to a playoff spot at that point. So like
Yeah, well,
7
last
wins.
season?
7
who was
wins.
the last seed last year?
But I think it was an 8-9 team, so you're sniffing it, but like I don't know.
Especially in the NFC too. Okay, so it was actually 9-8. Seattle got in at 9-8.
I just don't think a 7-10 campaign is going to inspire management who just bought the team to go, yeah, let's keep on.
Yeah.
They want this thing to be turned around quickly, like back to their previous championship form 38 fucking years ago, however long it was, a long time ago.
Yeah. I'm going to assume that we're also aligned here. Giants, I have them at 9-8.
We are aligned on teams. I gave them one more win. I have them at 10-7. They're a team that I think will surprise people this year. That not like last year, because last year everyone thought they would just be a bottom 5 team and
Including us.
right, and that there was no juice with this team. I think they're going to be even better than last year.
Yeah.
Saquon is going to go out there and try and keep playing for a big deal. They added Darren Waller. They re-signed a couple of their core players. Like, I'm feeling good about them this year. I think they have all the room to grow, and I like their schedule.
I don't know if I do. I mean, you get Dallas at home and then at Arizona. So that's a good 2-week start, right? Then
Easily go 2-0.
Easily good, right? Dallas, that one's always squirrely. Then you're at San Francisco. You're versing Seattle, which I would say Seattle's a winnable game. And then you're at Miami, and then you're at Buffalo.
Well, hold on. I think they're both winnable at the beginning of the year because San Fran is a team that finishes strong, but they are not a team that starts strong.
I don't know, buddy.
Dude, Sam
Anything can happen,
Darnold
100%.
might be playing quarterback for them. You know,
Brock Purdy went undefeated down the stretch, and he was Mr. Irrelevant.
I don't think he'll be starting the year.
I know, but I'm saying you could plug anybody in at that system, and that team is going to win games. I mean, for fuck's sakes, Jimmy Garoppolo won games with that team, and he played terrible. That team is stout from top to bottom. But Dolphins, Buffalo, those are really tough games.
Agreed.
You got the Commanders in there, which that's very winnable, but then you got the Jets, Raiders is winnable. They got a good stretch coming down the line. They got a real good stretch coming down the line. I mean, you go at Raiders, at Cowboys, at Commanders, at home against the Patriots, at home against the Packers, on the road against the Saints. I mean, those are all very winnable games, all of them. And then you're at Philly, which
you're the favorite in most of those games.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah. And then you're versing LA, which again I would say very winnable. And then you're at home against the Eagles to close the season out. So I agree. There's definitely a bit of a tough stretch at the beginning of the season, and then it really opens up for them.
So look, if you start 3-1 and then you split for the next couple of weeks, and then you just go on a tear those last couple, you got a playoff spot, no problem.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And then finally, I have the Eagles at 13-4.
I have them at 12-5, but
we were only one game off with those last two, so I think we're in similar situations. I mean, this team is running it back with a lot of the same players, adding on additional guys that could be very good. Secondary took, I would say, a minor hit in the grand scheme of things with C.J. Gardner-Johnson leaving, but for the most part, I mean, that team is going to be stacked top to bottom.
My big question mark with them, because I think they're easily a lock for at least the division. I think. I mean, they proved it last year. They're an excellent team. The big question mark for me with them is just the running game. We talked about it a little bit. It's a pretty much reinvented back room, except you bring back Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell, but you have DeAndre Swift, you have Rashad Penny. Like it's a different backfield. So I think a lot of their success did come from running the ball well with Miles Sanders last year, and we'll see if they can get back to the same level. DeAndre Swift could have been a guy on our redemption list. For sure.
I would definitely agree with that.
Definitely in need of it. And he's
very injury prone backfield, in my opinion.
For sure.
Right.
But there's not a lot of problems with this roster, so it's pretty hard to you look at the NFC, Eagles, Niners, they're number 1A, 1B.
Yeah.
So
100%.
It's pretty hard to not pick them to be at least the winner of their own division, if not the whole NFC.
100%. Could not agree more with that. All right, switching gears, the AFC East, which is the Bills, Dolphins, Jets, and Patriots. I'm going to guess that we have the same team coming in fourth here.
I'd be very surprised if we did not. So,
New England.
New England, 7-10
Nice.
for me. Okay, fist bump, nice.
Audible fist bump to all the listeners who also have the Patriots going 7-10 this year. I mean, they're the Patriots. They're going to win games, but they're not moving the needle.
They're kind of in the same group with the Commanders for me, where it's like they are good enough and do have some stuff on the line this year to like go out fighting, but they are not good enough to hang with the best of this division. And maybe if they trade for Jonathan Taylor, which they seem to be a team linked to wanting him, and I don't blame them because they need something on offense.
Yeah.
They need something besides Mac Jones, who is fine, but with zero actual elite playmakers around him, you're not going to get a whole lot.
Nope.
Bill Belichick is the GOAT, so he is good enough for 6 wins by himself.
Yeah.
But the rest of this year, the rest of the roster, AFC is tough. I just don't know. I just don't see them getting further than this.
No, I completely agree. It will be real interesting to see if Mac Jones kind of returns to that rookie form that he had, because, I mean, he was not great last year.
He had the most incompetent offensive play calling imaginable.
Yeah, with those two. Is Joe Judge gone?
I believe he's gone.
Yeah, with those two boobs gone.
Billy O'Brien is calling the plays for the Patriots. So
I feel like that's a lot better.
It's a massive upgrade.
Yeah,
for sure.
So we'll have to wait and see who can kind of carry that weight in offense in terms of playmaking.
Can I just say with the rest of this division, because I'm done talking about the Patriots?
Yeah.
This was really hard.
I feel like I gave out way too many wins.
I gave out a good amount here, but they all in spots last year proved it.
Yeah.
And the Jets, with the caveat that they now have Aaron Rodgers.
So who do you have at third?
I have Miami at third.
Yeah, same.
10-7.
Okay, I have them at 11-6.
They got to make the playoffs as long as Tua is healthy. That's the huge caveat with them. But this team was electric last year for several chunks of the season, and Mike McDaniel is a super interesting coach. This team got better by adding Jalen Ramsey. I know he's going to miss some time, but there's a lot to like here, and they also have a good schedule, I feel like, comparatively. So,
comparatively, because they finished third? No, they finished second in the division last year. So they get some teams that they should be able to beat. I think like Jacksonville, whoever finished up the Chargers, who I think they can beat, and I think Baltimore, who I think they can beat.
Yeah, all three of those teams is like a coin toss game for me. Yeah. But they could win 100%.
Them. Like if Tua's healthy, I think they should be able to beat those teams. Baltimore, Tennessee, Jacksonville, which I think Tennessee is a lot easier. They signed Eli Apple to help out with Jalen Ramsey missing time. So, I mean, that's a decent replacement, not a fantastic replacement, but a decent replacement. And, if Tua stays healthy, then they should be good. They should easily win at least 10, if not more.
This defense is excellent.
Yeah.
Tyreek and Waddle is a lethal 1-2 combo. Running game, we'll see.
I mean, it was pretty damn good last year. And, I mean, they have just an abundance of running backs. I mean, they basically just took a San Francisco running back room and have made it into San Francisco's running game. So I wouldn't be shocked if they won 11 games.
The thing with these three teams, I could see any of them being in first.
Oh, yeah.
They're all good enough, and they all are so strong in their own conference that I feel like any of these guys could go 1, 2, or 3. But just going off of what we know now, this is the predictions I have, I guess. I don't know.
Who do you have in second? This is the real interesting aspect of this. Second and first place between the Jets and the Bills.
I've got Buffalo. I've got Buffalo in second place.
I like that. Yeah.
I also have them with a 10-7 record.
Wow.
I have them getting the inch over the Dolphins.
Quite a regression.
But they just I feel like last year was kind of their year.
Yeah.
Last year was their year to go take the next step and make it to the Super Bowl because the AFC East was better, but it fell apart down the stretch. And you really only had to worry about Kansas City and Cincy in the playoffs because Jacksonville wiped out LA.
Yep.
And the Raiders weren't as advertised. Like they had a year that they probably should have tried to make the most out of. I mean, I know they did, but that was kind of their year for me to go out there and be dominant. And I think for stretches of last year, it was like, wow, they are the real deal. But I just think everyone beefed up a little bit around them. And I think we've seen a lot of flaws with their offense and Josh Allen, like the amount that they use him and the offseason that they've had, besides adding Dalton Kincaid, it doesn't really scream to me that they're going to change much. I know it works for the most part, but what have they added to be like they're going to be a lot different this year? I don't think they are. I think they're just running it back.
Yeah, for the most part, they added Latavius Murray.
I mean, what are we talking about here?
Are you serious?
They got Damian Harris. They got James Cook. Isaiah McKenzie is now coming onto the team. Jordan Phillips is coming back. Shaq Lawson they signed. They brought in, I don't know, just a couple other guys. No big names to your point.
They lose one of their best linebackers.
They lose Tremont Edmonds. They sign up Matt Milano. They made that decision. They bring back Jordan Poyer and the other safety that I'm blanking on. But I agree. They have not done a whole lot. I have them at 13-5, but in second place.
It'd be 12-5, not 13.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, 12-5. Yeah, So no, 13-4.
Okay.
13-4 from both teams.
They are very talented, and they do have one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and it has worked for them. So yeah, they're absolutely good enough to get double-digit wins, be very close to competing for their division and getting in the playoffs, no doubt. I just don't see them this year as dominating and getting that number 1 seed or winning the division.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Well, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and get into it then. Why do we think the Jets are the team to do it this year?
Defense. I think it's 100% the defense.
Well, you can't say that 100%.
I mean, you look at San Francisco, and that defense was so utterly dominant that they took Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, and Jimmy Garoppolo to a 13-4 record and NFC Conference Championship where they literally ran out of quarterbacks to play. I 100% can say is 100% defense, but the fact that they added Aaron Rodgers to that offense just means that I think they're going to be a dominant team. But I have them also going 13-4, just a better divisional record than the Bills.
I have them at 12-5, which is a little worse than that record that you just gave them. But it is enough in my bracket to my standings to win the division by 2 games.
Yeah,
I do agree the defense is 90% of this thing, but adding Aaron Rodgers, who last year he had his problems, right? But the dude, the 2 previous seasons was the MVP of the league. Even if he's just above average at this point, it's a massive upgrade compared to Zach Wilson. I think he's bringing a lot of swagger to this team. They already seem like they already had a good amount, but I think he's just kind of putting them in the next level. I think Salah another year in. Sauce was a huge success. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. There's just so much to be excited about with this team, and I feel like now it is time for them to live up to the expectations. They have had such a tumultuous last decade, 20 years of seasons here.
Yeah.
This is it. This is your golden ticket this year and possibly next year, because that's how long you'll have Rodgers for, presumably. And I think it's their time. So I think they're going to get it done. I don't know if they'll make it to the Super Bowl, but I think they're definitely going to win this division and make it interesting to playoffs.
Yeah, I think this is the Jets' division to lose. To be completely honest, I know
which they are great at. They're great at doing that.
Yeah,
historically speaking,
100%. So I don't know. It is 100%. The fact that they have easily a top 3 defense, if not the best defense in the NFL, and then they just added a guy who won back-to-back MVPs 2-3 years ago. So, okay, before we get into the Lions segment, let's just recap the record predictions here. For the NFC East, I have the Commanders finishing 6-11, Cowboys finishing 7-10, Giants finishing 9-8, and the Eagles finishing 13-4. Al, you have
the Dallas Cowboys finishing 6-11, Washington Commanders finishing 7-10, New York Giants finishing 10-7, and the Philadelphia Eagles finishing 12-5.
And then for the AFC East, we have I have the New England Patriots finishing 7-10, the Miami Dolphins finishing 11-6. The Buffalo Bills finishing 13-4, and the New York Jets finishing 13-4.
I also have the Patriots finishing 7-10, the Miami Dolphins finishing 10-7, Buffalo Bills finishing 10-7, getting that little edge on the Dolphins for second place, and the New York Jets going 12-5, making their dreams come true this year. We'll see.
Let's jump into the Lions segment.
Let's go Lions!
Okay, now we jump into the Lions preview for the preseason. We got a lot going on.
Lucas is actively refreshing Twitter to see if there was a big announcement or something.
There is a lot going on Lions Twitter today. There's a lot of rumors going around. A lot of the beat writers are tweeting out the eyeball emojis. and there's a lot of speculation as to what could be brewing in Ford Field at the moment.
I guess it'd actually be Allen Park, but yeah.
Allen Park, Ford Field, whatever. But I don't know if it's going to be reported today. It's just really unfortunate that we can't break this news on the podcast.
Well, it's really great entertainment for the listener to listen to. Like, well, hey, the beat writers are maybe tweeting something.
I think something is going to come, but I'm pissed that we're going to record this podcast and then watch it come out like tonight or tomorrow morning or something.
For the record, my money's just on a Jonah Jackson extension. That's about the end of it.
Could be a Jonah Jackson. The speculation is that it's either it's one of multiple things. It could be Jonah Jackson extension. It could be a Jared Goff extension. It could be us trading for Chase Young or Aaron Donald or Chris Jones. I've seen it's something as minor as getting Teddy Bridgewater to be a backup. I don't know
why that would require the eye emojis is
that's why I don't think
beyond
it's
me.
I think my gut is telling me that it could be Chase Young, but we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know. It's really annoying that it's not. Son of a bitch. It fucking is Teddy Bridgewater.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Wow, what earth-shattering news.
Yeah, that's
wow.
That's really.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
This has been a story for months. I mean, why is this a big reveal?
All right, so we're signing Teddy Bridgewater. Let's get into the preseason preview. So we're at home against the Giants, at home against the Jaguars, and on the road against Carolina. Here are some things that I feel like we'll be able to kind of see, at least in the first game. Second game is usually a couple drives for the starters, and then the backups come in. And then third game is no starters, much like the first game. RB3 battle, I feel like, is going to be a little bit interesting. Right now, I feel like it's Justin Jackson's role to lose, but we still have Jamar Jefferson on the roster, and we still have Craig Reynolds on the roster. But from what I've been seeing, I feel like Justin Jackson is doing pretty well right now.
He kind of contributed last year towards their hot streak. I remember that Giants game. He had like 2 touchdowns, and he had a couple nice games last year. I think Craig Reynolds is the guy we all want to see succeed, but it just feels like for the last year and a half, he's had a tough time finding getting reps on the field, and it seems like it's just not his job to win. I don't know. I'd be surprised if it was him, but yeah, Justin Jackson being that RB3 makes some sense to me. We definitely have the 1-2 punch, Montgomery and Gibbs. I don't think we're going to see much of any of them in the first 2 games. Maybe the second game a little bit more, but
one thing to keep an eye on with the wide receivers is, I feel like the wide receiver room is pretty much already set. We have Amon, Josh Reynolds, Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond, Marvin Jones, Denzel Mims. But while JMO is out, Dylan Drummond, an undrafted free agent rookie, I believe out of Michigan. I could be wrong about that. But he has been Eastern Michigan, so even smaller. He's been turning some heads at camp, so somebody just to keep an eye on to see if he ends up making the active roster.
How about that dude they drafted out of North Carolina in the last pick, that 7th round pick? Green from North Carolina, another guy
to keep an eye on. How about the crowded defensive end room? I feel like that is going to be definitely something to watch during preseason. We obviously have Hutch and
now Chase Young.
Yeah, well, unfortunately.
Oh, just kidding. We just have Teddy Bridgewater.
Teddy Bridgewater.
That's all we got.
But also, James Houston. But then we still have Romeo Okwara. We still have Josh Pascal. We still have John Kaminsky. And then I feel like the one that everybody keeps forgetting about is we still have Charles Harris, too, who led the team in sacks 2 years ago.
Yeah, he just kind of a down year last year.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of these guys, they're very serviceable defensive ends. We have a lot of depth at this position. I mean, Romeo Okwara came back off that torn Achilles and produced a couple sacks last year. Seeing where Derek Barnes and Malcolm Rodriguez fit in the linebacker core is going to be interesting moving forward. Obviously, I am willing to bet that Jack Campbell and Anzalone will be first-day starters, but seeing them continue to progress and get better is going to be really interesting. And then the thing that I'm most excited to see is the secondary, right? Emmanuel Mosley is still not going to be ready to go by the time we get underway. So we'll be seeing a lot of Cam Sutton, Jerry Jacobs, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Will Harris, and then for the safeties, Kirby Joseph, Tracy Walker. But God almighty, am I excited to see Brian Branch get
Absolutely.
in there. And I've been seeing Melifonwu a lot in training camp. So
Settle down.
to see him get out there and start playing is going to be real interesting too. And then finally, the last little note I had to just keep an eye on is going to be the kicker battle.
Settle down.
Forgot about that already.
Yep.
Score total prediction for the first preseason game.
Wow, that's really hard to guess.
Because they're always nonsense games, but
Yeah, and it's Nate Sudfeld and a quarterback. 24-27 Giants.
34-24
Wow.
Giants.
Oh, so we both have them losing.
You're not going to win every game
What
this
a
year. I don't know.
podcast this is.
I don't know.
A lot of faith in the boys.
Lions fans. That's all right.
Prove us wrong, Lions. All right.
BNL.
BNL, baby. All right. Let's go ahead. Let's close the show out. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for listening to another episode of Gridiron Zeros podcast.
Fuck off.
Follow us on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter, Gridiron Zeros Pod. Next show coming next week, maybe a little bit later in the week, since I will be on vacation at the start of next week. But we'll be back to recap that Giants preseason game. We'll preview the Jaguars preseason game. Hopefully get some boots on the ground there. And then, we're inching closer day by day. We're actually, did you know this, Al? We're exactly 1 month out from the season opener.
That's fantastic.
Some fantastic news, ladies and gentlemen. Lock of the week. My last lock did not hit. We're not counting it because it was on the seat of your pants flyby knock of the week after I realized
Preseason reps.
that it wasn't going to work out.
For the record, we're not counting this one either towards the official record, but
No, we're not. But here's the lock of the week. Even though I went against this last week or in our previous segment, Lions money line against the Giants this Friday. So there you go. Lock of the week, plus 124 Lions money line to beat the Giants outright. Let's go in. Let's take care of business at Ford Field, huh? Let's start the season out right. I know it's freaking preseason, but
I guess they're just not used to scoring touchdowns.
all right, ladies and gentlemen, we will catch you on the next one. Make good choices, make good decisions.
later.